What if I told you that you have believed a lie as an author or as an aspiring author? What if I told you that all that you have ever been told about writing books, publishing books, and making money from your craft as an author has always been a lie? Well, in today's conversation, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 lies that's keeping most authors broke and frustrated. And in the bit to explaining and unpacking all of these different details, I'm also going to be showing you the hidden agenda. The hidden agenda behind these white lies that I'm going to be revealing to you is to program you to be poor. And so I'm going to be showing you how the industry, how the system, how the gurus, how the publishing outfits out there have programmed authors to be broke like a joke and ready to choke. And by the end of today's conversation, all of those limiting beliefs, all of those white lies that you have been made to believe, that you've been made to swallow hook, line, and sinker, will be uprooted from their roots, and you'll be finally free to make money, to make a living while making a difference from your craft. You finally be free to earn what you're worth as an author. You finally be free to reap the fruits of your labor as an author. How does that sound? Haven't you seen authors who would write books, and these books are great books, but no matter how hard they try, these books never fly off the shelves? Haven't you got tired of the fact that authors, despite how good and how talented they are, despite how much work they put into their books, they still go broke? Most of them, a large percentage of them, go broke because they have been told a lie. And so in today's conversation, I'm going to be busting those bubbles, and I'm going to be shaking the table that most authors are sitting on, and I'm going to be freeing them from all of these misconceptions. Now, before I begin to explain what these lies are, I want to explain to you the power of programming. Because when you understand the power of programming, you'd understand how important the message that I'm going to be sharing with you is. You see, just the way you program a computer or you program an application and you tell it to do XYZ, based on some sets of instructions that have been coded into the machine, that is how most authors have been programmed. They have been programmed by some repeated messages, instructions, advice, cultural norms that they have come to accept. Why would someone have an intellectual property? Why would you be an author and you write a book and that book is an intellectual property and you still struggle to make money from that book, from that intellectual property? Doesn't it sound funny? Doesn't it sound crazy? Right? Just imagine a real estate developer builds a house, develops a property, and puts it on the market, and yet that real estate developer is unable to break even, is unable to make money. Well, that sounds funny, doesn't it? Now tell me in the comment section what that feels like. Tell me in the comment section what you think about the idea that someone, a real estate developer, will develop a property and not be able to generate a decent cash flow from that property. And in the same vein, your book is an intellectual property, right? Just the way you have a real estate property, your book is an intellectual property. Just the way you have a real estate, your book is a virtual estate, right? And so the way time and resources have been invested in developing an estate, a real estate, that is how you have spent time and resources developing your book, your intellectual property, your virtual estate. And so doesn't it sound funny that having spent time, energy, resources, your sweat and blood to write your book, to conceptualize the idea, write your book, format the book, give it to someone to edit it, proofread the book, and then publish that book, whether through a traditional publisher or through an online or self-publishing platform, you publish that book and yet you can barely make any money from the book. You earn just $2 to $5 from a sale of a book, or you earn $12 from the sale of a $30 book, right? If it's a paperback book. That is an aberration as far as I'm concerned. And the reason why this seems to be the norm, it has been accepted by most authors today as the norm, is because they have been programmed by the establishment. They've been programmed by the huge businesses and platforms to accept what shouldn't be accepted as the norm. So now it has become cool for an author to write a book, right? It has become cool for an author to write a book and price that book at $30. Now, I have a book here. This is one of my books, and it has become a norm for an author to price a book, for example, like this, and that book would sell for $30 on a platform like Amazon, and at the end of the day, get only $12 after the book is sold. Now, that to me does not sound okay, right? Because there are ways that you can actually produce a book, and if the cost of this book is $30, you can actually make $25 after this book is sold. But the traditional publishers will not tell you that, and the huge platforms out there like Amazon and the rest will not tell you that. Why? Because it's in their favor. If they only give you $12 for a $30 book that you put on their platform. And the reason why most authors are okay with this is because they have believed 4 lies, right? And I'm going to be explaining those 4 lies. At least I've been able to explain to you what the concept of programming is. For example, I'm a software engineer, and I've written code for billion-dollar businesses, code that has generated billions of dollars for businesses in Fortune 500 companies, right? So I know how powerful a program can be when that program is deployed in your mind like a mental script. It can change how you respond, it can change how you act. And so the purpose of today's conversation is to change how you're thinking about your talent, about your gift, about your book, about the ideas behind your book, about the content that you have created and put together and packaged in a book. I don't just want to rush into giving you these 4 lies without allowing you to understand the underlying goal of today's conversation. The underlying goal of today's conversation is not necessarily to inform you about these 4 lies, but to transform you from being bound by these mental bars, from being bound by these shackles, from being bound by these mental chains, from these barriers that are stopping you from earning and making a living, from making a difference as an author. Now, there's something you must know about these programming that has kept many authors poor. This programming is subconscious, and it has been concocted by the giants in the industry, in the publishing industry, because the publishing industry thrives on the sweat and blood of authors like you and I, of hardworking authors, brilliant authors, intelligent authors like you and I. They thrive on our hard work, on our sweat and blood. And so they have presented these white lies to us in a way that it incentivizes us to remain slaves for these industries, right? I just explained to you now how that you price your book at $30 and you put it on some of these self-publishing platforms, and at the end of the day you get $12. What happens to the remaining $18? It will shock you to learn what happened. They tell you all sorts of stories around, oh, the money went for printing, the money went for XYZ, the money went for distribution, and then you share the profit 40% with them, and at the end of the day what comes to your hand is $12 and what comes to their hand is $18, and they make it look like you're getting most of the money, but that's not the case, right? I figured out a way that you can actually publish a book. If you're pricing it at $30, you can actually make $25 or even $35 from the sale of a $30 book. And if you ask me how, I'll tell you. When you price your book at $30 and you understand the psychology of selling, and you understand the underlying secrets that I teach to my students, you'd learn how to actually sell that book for $30, plus $9.99 shipping and handling. And at the end of the day, when you ship that book, you're going to make at least $4 or $5 extra on that shipping fee, right? And so you potentially could be making $35 on a $30 book if you understand what I actually teach. But that's, by the way, because this conversation is not about all of that detail. This conversation is just to help you break free from the lies, the white lies that most of the publishing gurus and the industry giants have sold to you to keep you stuck like chalk in a pickup truck, or to keep you broke like a joke and ready to choke. Now, the first lie is just write your book. Write a great book and you'll succeed as an author. Well, writing a great book does not guarantee success for you as an author, and this is a reality that you need to actually come to terms with very, very fast. It is not enough to write a great book, because people don't buy books because they are great books. People buy books because the books are solutions, or the books contains solutions to their problems. So before you run off and you dream up a title and you write a book, you want to make sure that you're not just writing for the sake of writing a great book, but you're writing for the sake of solving a great problem. When you can solve a problem with your book, that book does not need to be the best written book, in quote. Does not need to be the greatest book. It just needs to be the book that can solve a specific problem. It doesn't have to be a non-fiction book. It just has to solve a problem. Now, you may be listening to me and you're like, but I'm a fiction author, so how can I solve a problem? You can solve a problem that has emotional value, that has entertainment value. Most of the movies that we watch today were developed from books, were scripted by reading books that were written by authors, fiction authors, right? These fiction authors were able to generate an idea, generate a story, create a story from their creative faculties that made sense enough to be turned into a book. That is a specific problem right there being solved by that book. And what is the problem? Entertainment. That book is providing entertainment value, the ability to create intrigue, suspense, and to keep someone hooked in a storyline until that storyline is completed, or until that storyline gets to the end, right? You get my point. But what I'm trying to share with you is that writing great books alone will not guarantee you success as an author. And so most authors are majoring on the minors and minoring on the majors. So they spend most of their time trying to write the greatest book, have fancy covers, have beautiful formatting, and then they publish it, and Zipola, no one buys. What's the point writing a book that nobody buys, right? Except you're writing for the fun of writing and hanging it on your shelf. If you're writing to be able to make an impact, then you want to make sure you're writing in a way that would get people interested. You're writing about what people are interested in, and you're writing what you're interested in a way that people will be interested in it, right? Now, having said that, the next mistake that most people make is that they think just write and publish on Amazon and go to sleep and your book will sell. And then when you ask them why, they are going to tell you because Amazon is the largest book platform in the world. Amazon is the largest distributor of books in the world. They control 40% of the market share, and the other companies and other traditional publishers, they have to share, or they control 60% altogether, while Amazon alone controls 40% in itself. So they break down that statistics, and then they tell you that, oh, Amazon has millions of people trooping to that website, to that e-commerce platform, to their platform every day. And so if you can just write a book and put it on Amazon, in fact, there are gurus out there who teach people different tactics that don't move the needle on how to publish a book on Amazon and make money off KDP, and most of it is stuff that doesn't really move the needle for you as an author. So let me ask you a question. Now, if you go to the highway just outside your house, just come out of your house, you're going to see a lot of cars moving on the highway. And if we were to do a rough calculation, maybe 1,000 vehicles move through that express every day, right? The fact that 1,000 vehicles move through the express every day, does that mean that at least 10 of those vehicles will stop by if you stand at the corner of the road and you start yelling and saying, hey, buy from me, or you just stand expecting people to buy something from you, because that place is a high traffic area, because that place, lots of vehicles and lots of people are passing there? Does that mean that when you stand on the road, 10 people or 12 people or 100 people will stop by and say hi? No, right? Everybody is on that road and they are going to a destination that they already predetermined before they even began that journey. And that's what Amazon is like. Before anyone goes on Amazon right now, they already have a premeditated desire. They already have something that they want to achieve. They already have a book they want to buy, that they have decided they want to buy because of some engagement they had outside of Amazon. They already have an item that they want to shop. Maybe they want to shop some utensils. Maybe they want to shop some kitchen items. They want to shop some personal items. They want to shop for an airpod. They want to shop for a phone casing. They want to shop for a pair of shoes on Amazon, so they go to Amazon. Or they want to shop for some accessories, some electronic accessories, or for some home equipment. They go on Amazon and they search for exactly what they want and they get it. That's exactly what's happening on the highway. People who want to drive on the highway, they get into their car, they have a clear destination in mind, they put it in a map and they say, this is exactly where I'm going, and then they go straight to that place. So it doesn't matter if 1 million cars are passing on the highway. If you go stand by the roadside expecting that at least 1,000 of those cars will stop by and say hi to you, or 10 of those cars will stop by and say hi to you, that is foolishness at its peak. And that's exactly what most people are banking on. They tell themselves that, oh, millions of people are going to Amazon every day, so let me just write a book and publish it and put it on Amazon and I would make money. But they get disappointed when it looks like a month has passed, 2 months have passed, a year has passed, and whenever they keep going to their sales dashboard on Amazon, they refresh the page and all they see is no sales to report. The reason for that is because you have believed a lie. And my goal today is to get you to think different, because there may be nothing wrong with your book that's not selling. It may just be your approach and your mindset about how to actually get your book out there that's broken, right? And if you can fix that, we probably can fix your book sales problem, right? Because I'm an author of about 17 books, and I know what it feels like to write a book and that book doesn't sell. When I wrote my first book, let me show you my first book. Now, this is my first book. When I wrote my first book, I put it on Amazon and I didn't see sales until I discovered some of the things that I'm sharing here and that I always teach when I have the opportunity to coach some of my clients, right? When I discovered those things, that was when I was able to start dialing in sales, right? And so you can have the exact same book, right, but with the wrong approach, make no sales. But with the right approach, you can make a killing out of it, right? Now, having said that, the next white lie I'm going to talk about is that you need to sell lots and lots of copies of your book in order to make money from your book. You need to sell at least hundreds of thousands of copies of your book or millions of copies of your book so that you can make lots of money and become a bestseller. Well, that is another lie, because you do not need to sell millions of copies of your book to be a bestseller. You just need to be best at selling your book idea, right? You just need to be great at selling. But you don't need to sell millions of copies of your book to make money from your book, right? Why did I say so? Because the book is more than ink and paper. The book is a vessel of transformation. And so if you are able to extract the core transformation in your book, you can turn that into other things that people would happily pay for, right? So you want to ask yourself, how can I turn this book into more than just a book, into a living thing? How can I extend the life of this book and the value of this book to other forms and other formats that people can benefit from. How can I turn this book into a coaching program? How can I turn it into a course? How can I turn it into an audio program and make more money from the same information and transformation that have been baked into this book? Now, if you wrote a book that is barely an information product, that may not work for you. I know many authors who write books, and those books are at best information products. And so if you want to really lock in what I'm teaching you and what I'm sharing with you, you want to make sure that your book is a transformation product, right? And if your book does not pass as a transformation product, there are things that you can do. There are things we can do to fix that, right? Even after you publish, you can extract the core transformation from that book and package it in different other forms, right? Like courses, like games, like apps. You can repurpose your book into all of these and, you know, make even more money from it without even selling a copy of your book. And so it's a big fat lie to think that you need to sell millions of copies of your book to make it. And that's where Amazon wants you to be. That's where the establishment wants you to be, because the more you keep thinking you need to sell millions of copies of your book, the longer you leave your book on their platform, and the more you try giving them money to run ads for you on their platform, the more you keep allowing your intellectual property collect virtual dust on Amazon's shelf, right? But you deserve more than that, because you've done the hard work, you put in your sweat and your blood, and so you deserve to reap the fruits of your labor, right? If you agree with me, put it in the comment section and say, hey, I deserve to reap the fruit of my labor, right? You deserve it. And if you believe you deserve it, tell me in the comment section. Now that brings me to the fourth lie, the fourth white lie that keeps most authors broke like a joke and ready to choke. And it's the lie that you don't need to develop selling skills to become a bestseller. Mind you, my definition of who a bestseller is different from being an Amazon bestseller, because there are many Amazon bestsellers who are broke. They don't have a dime in their account to account for the fact that they are a bestseller on that platform, right? So when you hear me say bestseller, I'm not necessarily saying all of those other fancy titles and statuses on the different platforms or publishing platforms around. I'm talking about being best at selling and having the best results when you sell your book. And so many people think you don't need to develop selling skills to succeed in selling your books, but that's a big fat lie. And this is one of the reasons why many authors are stuck like chalk in a pickup truck, because they spend all their time, resources and energy writing the book, developing the book and publishing the book, and they spend little to no time marketing the book and actually selling the book and actually profiting from that book. And so when you don't spend time or you don't invest resources or invest yourself into the process of generating money from your book, and you leave it to chance, all you're going to get is nothing or less than nothing. And so if you believe that you do not need to develop selling skills in order to sell your books successfully, you have believed a lie, and you need to fix that. So what's the way forward? Well, the way forward is this. You need to move from being an author to being an author-preneur. Now you may be asking this question in your mind and saying, what's the difference between an author and an author-preneur? Well, I got you covered. I'm going to explain that by reading some things to you from this book titled How to Make Millions as an Author-preneur. I wrote this book in the year 2018 when I saw I had written about 6 books and I had gotten some results, and then I saw some gurus out there who had just written like 1 book trying to teach people how to make money from books, and I attended that class and I saw that most of what they were being taught was junk. And then I had this holy anger inside of me, and I went ahead to write my own book to educate people better and to give people the right information and also get them the transformation that will help them achieve this the kind of result that I could potentially help them achieve. And that was what birthed this book, How to Make Millions as an Entrepreneur. Now, in the second chapter, I have a very interesting title saying, why should I become an entrepreneur? Well, an entrepreneur is one who has gone beyond the level of writing and publishing into the level of building an enterprise around his craft. Wow, amazing. Some entrepreneurs have written books that ended up being adapted into movies, which dominated the box office charts of the movie industry. Wow, interesting. Typical examples are not hard to find with the likes of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter or Robert Ludlum's The Bourne Identity. I'm going to skip that part and read something to you. Being an author is not enough. Now, this is why I say you should stop being just an author to being an entrepreneur if you want to break free from that programming trap, that poverty programming trap that most authors have been sucked into. Now, in the book titled The Millionaire Mind, Thomas J. Stanley, PhD, said there are 300,000 books published every year and 2 out of 3 never makes it to the bookstores. Can you imagine that? Okay, out of these 100,000 books that do get distributed, few ever sell 1 million copies or more. You see why I told you that it's a big fat lie, it's a white lie to think that you need to sell millions of copies of your book to become a bestseller, or sell millions of copies of a book to make money from your book. Only a few books ever do that, right? But you don't have to wait till you sell 10,000 books or 100,000 books or 1 million books before you actually cash out from your creativity in form of the books that you've written, right? There are smart ways you can earn from your books even before you hit publish, right? And I teach all of that in my challenge. I usually host a 5-day challenge. You'll find the link below this video in the description, or this podcast or this audio, wherever you're listening to this. You find the link. It's the Publishing Profits Challenge, and in that challenge I spend 5 days to teach authors and aspiring authors how to fix their book sales problem. I help them fix their book messaging, their book marketing, their book monetization, their book momentum, and every other thing pertaining to their book message, right? But that's by the wayside. Now let's read. The sad part is that several of these authors are brilliant in their own unique way, and they have written great stuff worth reading, but unfortunately have not been able to profit from their passion. Most times people get scared by these facts and figures, and they are forced to bury their potentials as authors. Now, the goal of today's conversation is to ignite your creativity and ignite that passion in you, ignite that fire in you that you have extinguished or allowed to get doused by the discouragement and the disappointments that you get whenever you hit your Amazon dashboard, sales dashboard, and you see no sales to report, right? I'm here to instill that passion back in you again and ignite that fire in you again so that you can do something that will generate income for you from your book idea. Now, for fear of these challenges, many have aborted their brain children. You see, after publishing and printing my first book, I almost fell for that trap. I almost gave up writing until I discovered the secret, which I have decided to share with you through this book. Now, I'm not going to go further on that part. I want to read something else to you that will really blow your mind. Now, we are still talking about what the difference between an author and an entrepreneur is, right? And I'm reading this thing to you, I'm reading this page to you because there are some really interesting things that will help you understand the difference. Now, all you need to be a great author is to have great writing skills. Now, I'm on page 30 of How to Make Millions as an Entrepreneur, right? All you need to be a great author is to have great writing skills and a good content. You can have these two and do just fine as an author, with the hope that millions of copies of your books will be sold. But for entrepreneurs, they know how to make their money even when their book has not been bought out by millions of people. Authors are satisfied. Now hear this, listen to this very closely. Authors are satisfied with being able to polish their talent into a desirable skill, but entrepreneurs are not satisfied until they can master the business of their talent. They move from talent to skill and from skill to business and make a killing out of it monthly. If you become an entrepreneur, you stand a chance of achieving better results than these guys who have become authors of bestsellers today. I've met many Amazon bestsellers who are broke, and they do not have anything to show for the fact that they have hit Amazon bestseller status, because anybody can just go and make their book free on Amazon and beg people to download it and support them and put some reviews, and even pay people to put reviews on their book, and Amazon will read that to mean that, oh, this book is a bestseller, and they'll give you the bestseller tag on that book. But yet you're broke. You're spending more money and more money instead of making more money and more money from your book, right? That's why sometimes just being a bestseller is not in your best interest if you don't understand how to sell or how to generate cash flow from your book, right? Hear this: you do not need to sell millions of books to make millions from your work as an author. Yes, your book does not need to be on Amazon's bestseller list to make millions from your craft. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with such achievements, as they are great ones. However, you can mine the financial potential of your book idea without being a New York Times best-selling author. It is all about having the right strategies that would help you get your message out there in any way possible. There are several mediums through which you can generate revenues from your craft apart from the practice of writing your book. Your book is not just ink and paper. Your book is a vessel of transformation. Now, I'll stop there as far as reading the book that I wrote, titled How to Make Millions as an Author-preneur, is concerned. You can get a copy on Amazon if you want. But that's by the way. And you may wonder, but you have your book on Amazon, and so why are you telling us Amazon is the devil? Literally, I'm not necessarily saying Amazon is the devil. They've done some good in the world. They still do some good in the world. I'm just saying it may not be in your best interest if you want to make money, if you want to get rich and wealthy as an author. Putting your book on Amazon and going to sleep will not save you. Why? Because Amazon is not a system designed to make you wealthy. Amazon is not your friend. It was designed to make its owners wealthy, and it's doing that job effectively well, right? The founder of Amazon is among the top richest men in the world. So Amazon has actually done its job effectively. Its job is not to make you wealthy. Its job is to make the one man, Jeff Bezos, wealthy, and has done that job effectively. And so you want to think like Amazon if you want to generate wealth from your book idea, instead of allowing Amazon do the thinking for you. And you may wonder, but why do you want me to build? Do I have to build something like Amazon? You don't have to build something like Amazon, right? You just have to build something you can call your own. Why do you need to build something that you can call your own? Because when you publish your book on Amazon, they limit your price. They set the price in stone. They tell you how much you have to put on your book by putting some restrictions around increasing that price. They limit your profit. By the time they take what belongs to them, or they take what they want to take from your book cost, and they take all of their other expenses from your book cost, whatever is left is peanuts. So they limit your profit. They limit your market penetration. They have a very funny niche strategy that forces you to use keywords that don't even relate to what you're trying to achieve or who you're trying to reach, and that also limits you. They also limit your people. They limit how well you can interact with people who have actually bought your book, especially if you don't have a back door to getting these people to come into your ecosystem. If you just put your book there, you're losing these people's information at checkout. You don't have a way of building a lasting relationship with your followers and with your readers. I have an episode that talks about why you should stop relying on Amazon to sell your books. You can go back and you can listen to that episode or watch that video on the channel if you like to learn more. I spoke about 7 different reasons why you should stop relying on Amazon, right, to sell your book. Because Amazon is not just sales team. It's just a tool. It's just there, right? You still need to do the work, and if you do the work anyway, why not do it right? So talking about the way forward, the next thing that I'm going to share with you is that you need to learn how to market and sell. It amazes me how many authors, they'll spend all their time and resources writing and publishing, and they spend little or no time learning how to profit from their craft, learning how to sell and scale their book idea. You want to learn and master the business of selling and scaling your book idea. And there are different ways that you can do it depending on the niche, depending on the market you serve. Now, if you are listening to this and you don't even know the market you serve, you don't even have a niche, you need help. If you're listening to this and you don't even know how to market or how to sell or how to scale your book, you need help. If you are listening to this and all you've ever thought was the key to succeeding as an author was to put your books on Amazon and go to sleep, you have believed a lie. And I hope that by listening to this conversation today, your mind has been renewed around that subject, around that approach, around that style, to a better way to do things, right? I'm going to just do a quick recap of the different things that we have addressed today. Number one, writing your book, writing a great book would not guarantee you success. You must write a book that the market wants. Number two, writing and publishing on Amazon and going to sleep is a recipe for disaster, because Amazon is not your friend, right? So don't just write and put it on Amazon and expect that you make sales, because the millions of people visit Amazon every other day. That does not mean those millions of people will come visit your book or come buy your book, right? I've already explained that. You can go back to the episode and listen to the reasons I gave about that. Now, the other lie is, oh, you need to sell millions of books before you can make money. That is a big white lie. You don't need to sell thousands of copies or millions of copies before you can make money from your book. And if this is something you're interested in, you've not sold a single copy of your book, you'd like to learn how you can monetize your creativity and monetize your book idea, then you can join me for 5 days live. The link will be in the description, and I'll show you all that you need to know in order to fix your book sales problems and make money from your book. Now, the fourth white lie that we talked about today is that, oh, your books will sell itself, so you don't need to develop selling skills. Well, books don't sell themselves. People don't buy books from books. People buy books from people, right? So you want to learn how to sell. You want to master the art of persuasion and positioning if you want to become a bestseller in pocket, not in word, but in pocket, right? I'll leave it there for now, and thank you for listening. If this was valuable, tell me in the comment section how you feel about today's conversation. I'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one, and bye-bye.